Hey everybody, how are we doing? I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome on back into the Dragon's Lair with me, Ashenwings TCG. Today we are going to go over another awesome budget deck tech that we have going on here. This time we are going to be talking about Kassai. Now we already went over KO, which if you missed that video, you can go ahead and check it out. It should be put a link somewhere on this video here. But Kassai is another hero that I really enjoyed playing when I was checking out a lot of this stuff. I've always kind of enjoyed the concept of warrior, and I still lean a little bit more towards Dorinthia than Kassai, but I do really love Kassai's whole ability. With Kassai in Commoner and in Clash, that is going to be today's video. We're going to teach you about how to play this hero in both Commoner and Clash, so not your normal, a normal classic constructed video kind of deal. This is for more budget formats where you have a little bit more restriction on the cards that you have in deck. Kassai is a new warrior, same character, new warrior in heavy hitters, and her ability says that if you've drawn a card this turn, your sword attacks cost 1 less to activate. This is really important, and I've kind of built a lot of these decks around that draw mechanic, but for the most part, it is strictly based around you find cards that allow you to draw, and then your swords become free because your swords only cost 1 to activate. So you can swing in with a sword, hopefully be able to give it go again with this deck, and then move on from there. Another thing that she has available to her is a once per turn action, you can banish 2 red and 2 yellow cards from your graveyard, and then the next time a weapon you control hits a hero this turn, you create a gold token. So it doesn't work if you're attacking dragons, but it is a great way for you to threaten some on-hits, pretty much makes all of your weapons have a general on-hit ability. And gold is a little bit more important in the Clash build that we build for Kassai, but for this Commoner build, not really the most necessary thing that you'll have here. So let's take a look at the main equipment right now. And the equipment, it's a little different from place to place. I also haven't fully kitted out this sideboard for this deck yet, but again, that's where I'm going to lean on you guys, the community, to kind of help me out and see if there's something that you have personally had access to in which that has helped you the best. So taking a look at the equipment, first we have the weapons. Hot Streak is almost a guarantee in just about any two-handed warrior deck at this point, because if it's defended by 1 or more attack action cards, it gets go again this turn. It's incredibly important because you want to be able to attack with both of your swords every turn if you can, and Hot Streak allows you to do that. You get a lot more text going into the Clash format of this, but this still threatens damage. A lot of the times you're going to see that if you lead off with this attack and you swing with it, you'll swing for a whopping 2, right? And you can pump it with your attack reactions that you'll have in the deck. But for the most part, people are either not going to block this, or they're going to block it correctly by blocking with non-attack actions, which will then still allow you to kind of filter their hand in a way to block them from doing it. So you're always going to want to lead with this unless you have a way to really kind of give go again in the best way. In most cases, a lot of with warrior, you're kind of faking out your opponent. You're telling them this is what I want to do, and they go, oh, okay, well that seems simple enough to block. They go to block it, and then you go, nah, just kidding, I'm going again. And so that's where a lot of these cards come from. So I'm going to go into the other weapon here, Centauri Saber. This is a normal one for Kassai. Pretty straightforward and simple. It's just like Hot Streak in a way, where if it's defended by an attack action, it gets +1. So this will always come in for 2 unless you pump it, but this one will come in for 3 if it's blocked with a attack action card. So nice little ender there, at least, somewhere between 2 to 5 damage being threatened with just those cards alone. For our chest, actually, let's go headpiece first. Headpiece is Hood of the Red Sand. Hood of Red Sand is really good because it's got Battleborn 1, which is nice for helmets, and you can also pay a resource, banish a red and a yellow card from the grave to then destroy this card, and then have your next sword attack gain when this hits draw a card. Now, target sword attack, which means that it's not just like swords this turn get when they hit draw a card. So if you put it onto your weapon that you're going to be hitting with, it's perfect, right? In most cases, you can do that with Hot Streak to be able to go ahead and as an attack reaction, pay the 1, banish, play a red and a yellow, or, banish a red and a yellow. And then you'll allow to draw a card, which then gets you to be able to attack with your next Centauri Saber if you have the cards to give Hot Streak Go Again. Let's just assume they didn't block it, right? So very cool text there. I mean, Battle Worn 1 is already super great, especially for Commoner, so can't really go wrong there. For the chess piece, I went with Deep Blue. We are running a decent amount of reds in this Commoner build, so Deep Blue kind of really does what I want it to do. You can take a red from your hand, put it to the bottom, and then gain 3 resources for your turn. So it's very good if you have an ability that allows you to kind of go off and check out on some other stuff, because you want to have more resources, and it's not always going to be blues in your hand. Most of the decks are reds and yellows, but there are blues available. Gallantry Gold, this is strictly just for your weapons. You can pay 1 to destroy this. Weapons get +1 this turn, Go Again, and Battle Worn, which is good. Another Battle Worn equipment, Refraction Bolters. When a weapon attack hits, you may destroy Refraction Bolters. If you do, the attack gains Go Again. So this is also important if you're trying to close out the game, because if you swing with Hot Streak and they don't block it out because they don't want you to get the Go Again on Hot Streak, you can then activate Refraction Bolters in response to that, and after damage has been done, and then it'll get Go Again anyway. There's ways to kind of scoot around that. So moving into the main deck for Commoner, we do have 2 Agile Engagement red. This is a incredibly good, reaction for this, because in most cases, +3 to any of your stuff is enough to almost want people to block, especially in a 20 health format. If it's defended by an attack action card, you get an agility token. Agility tokens allow you to have your first action on your turn get Go Again, your first attack action or attack in general get Go Again. So it's very important to get those agility tokens when you can, and it only costs 1, blocks for 2, unfortunately, but it is what it is. We do run the Rainbow of Blade Runner. Not entirely too sure if I need the rainbow of it, but this is going to be a way for, essentially, let's say you wanted to go wide. You can swing with Hot Streak. If they don't block anything for it and you wanted to get another attack in, you can then attack react into Blade Runner. It makes your next weapon get a buff, and your current weapon that you're attacking with get Go Again. So 2 Go Again into possibly 5, maybe 6-ish on the red Blade Runner for Centauri Saber. Very, very important, because you're going to want that kind of go wide strategy. Next up, you do have Engage Swiftblade. Engage Swiftblade, I am still on the fence about. I like that it blocks 3. That's very important for most decks, that it blocks 3. Next warrior attack this turn gets +3, and if it's defended by an attack action card, this gets Go Again. You could give that to Hot Streak, or you could give it to Centauri Saber, either or. And that way you can go ahead and guarantee, because coming in for 5, it's not something your opponent's going to want to not block. In some cases, they will not block it, or they'll have defense reactions, which do block out a decent amount of that stuff. If they have to drop an attack action to block it, then it's going to get Go Again. In most cases, because this just gives the same ability as Hot Streak already has, I would suggest using this on Centauri Saber and not on anything else. But more importantly, it is next warrior attack this turn, not just your weapons, which means that you can utilize some of the attack actions that we actually have in this deck, which I'll show you guys in a sec. Hit and run here. This is another way to give your weapon Go Again, and then you can play another one if you have it, because if you have attacked with a weapon this turn, your next attack this turn gets +3. So again, pumping up those attack actions as well as your weapons. It's very important for hit and run. In the Swing is another attack reaction. If you've attacked with 2 weapons this turn, you can play it, and it gets +3, and we're only running the reds. And that's mainly because if we're going to attack with Hot Streak and then attack with Centauri Saber, we can then play In the Swing to pump up Centauri Saber to give it +3. So we want to kind of, in the reaction step, be able to power up our attacks to be able to really just kind of throw as much damage as we can at them for free, because they're not going to want to block with attack actions. So if they don't have them, the odds of them not blocking are pretty high. On top of that, we do also have Iron Song Response. It's just a really, really good attack reaction to allow you to play it. It gives +3 to target weapon attack if your opponent defended with a card from their hand. So it doesn't have to be an attack action. It can just be, any action or a defense reaction or whatever. If it came from their hand, you can play this to then pump up your weapon attack, which is good. Out for Blood is another one here. This is if the defending hero is defended with a card from their hand this chain link for reprise, next attack this turn gets +1, and then it also gives your target weapon attack +3 power. So that is also very good. Again, just kind of pumping up the damage that you can make on any of these weapons. And then if they did defend with a card from hand that was or wasn't an attack action or any kind of action, your prize effect gets put up, and then you get +1 to your next attack. So even if it's +1 to your next weapon or +1 to any of these guys down here, which I'll go over in a sec, it's going to be very important. Puncture, another attack reaction. Target sword or dagger attack gets +3 and piercing 1. This is really good if your opponent's trying to kind of plow through with armor. A lot of people tend to save their armor for late, or if you're trying to like turn on Kassai's ability. Kassai's ability gives one of her weapons an on hit, and in most cases, the word on hit to most players means block with my armor. And so if that's the case and they block out with their armor perfectly, you can play this in response, give it piercing 1, and then it'll gain 4 instead of 3, therefore usually going over that block point and getting the hit off to allow you to get that gold or even draw a card, depending if you destroy the hood or if you're using Kassai's ability. Now, these two cards here, I'm testing them in here strictly because this is kind of a draw cards deck, but Rising Speed and Rising Energy were really good for me when I was doing some Blitz pre-constructed events. These cards did such work. In most cases, you're drawing a card on your turn, right? In most cases. Rising Speed, you can pay 2 and have this come in for 5 go again because you drew a card. So they block for 2, but 5 go again is really, really powerful. You run the 4 go again too, so again, that's another breakpoint. These are also warrior attacks, so they are buffed by things like Iron Song, or not Iron Song response, by In the Swing. They are also buffed up by Out for Blood with the reprise ability, not the actual bump for the weapon attack. And then, of course, Hit and Run. Also, if you attack with a weapon this turn, your next attack this turn gets +3. So if you can go ahead and attack with Hot Streak, give it go again, and then if you play a Hit and Run and then you play something like a Rising Speed, it'll give +3 to the Rising Speed or the Rising Energy if you decide to use whichever or. Rising Energy costs 1 less if you drew a card, so this is a 1 for 6 that blocks for 2 in most cases, and even a 5 for 1, 5 damage for 1 resource. And this is a great combo just to go kind of Hot Streak into Rising Speed into Rising Energy. That's a lot of damage being presented from a warrior who just cares about drawing cards. So I definitely think that even if you have to pop a gold at the beginning of your turn, pitch a yellow, draw a card, and now your whole line is set up, I think you're going to be able to present a lot to your opponent and really shift the tempo in your favor. Another card that I'm kind of teching into here is Scour the Battlescape. Now, in most cases, you'd run Trade-In, right? Trade-In, when it attacks, you may discard a card, and then if you do draw a card, if it was played from Arsenal, it gets go again. So that's pretty cool, but the same card exists in Scour the Battlescape. Scour the Battlescape just says, though, that you can put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, draw a card. So you're not losing the card entirely, and you're drawing up, right? You're essentially sinking a card from your hand to the bottom of your deck and then drawing, and if it's played from Arsenal, it gets go again. So very, very useful in that situation to be able to do something like that. I do still run the Trade-In because we do still want to kind of power through with those draw tactics. Having to discard a card, the only reason it's beneficial for Kassai is because you can then banish those cards from your grave to activate her ability. So if you're missing a yellow or you're missing a red or something and you need that to get into the grave in order to activate her ability to then have your weapons make a gold, then that is something you can utilize. But in most cases, it's just strictly for the draw. The same goes for Stroke of Foresight, another great attack reaction. Weapon attack gets +3, and then if the defending hero defended with a card from their hand, this chain link, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. Allows you to filter some stuff out, and then drawing also, again, allows your swords to be free. So very, very important to have that in there. We're pretty much just running the reds of the attack reactions because you want to get the most damage you can out of it. Because again, a lot of it is just kind of a bluff tactic. You're going in, you're attacking, and you're going, all right, cool. You don't have it. You're trying to minimize, if your opponent's at 5 and you come in for 2 and they don't block anything at all and they don't have a D react, and then you in attack reaction step give it +3, you win. And your opponent might not be ready for that. So it's very, very cool. So that's the main stuff here. The sideboard here, I'm actually testing out Spellfray stuff, the Spell Void armor instead of Null Rune. The reason being is because with Null Rune, you're stuck in a lot of ways, right? If you pull a blue or a yellow and you have to pitch it for arcane damage and then it comes to your turn and the only thing you can do is nothing, you're not feeling good about that. The only downside to playing Spell Void personally is that you're pretty much just going to take arcane damage until your opponent goes, I'm going to come in for a big attack. Then you can break the Spellfray stuff to block it all out. The only downside with these Spellfray cards is it's technically only AB4 once. And that doesn't block over Aether Icevein Red. It doesn't block over many of the Aether, I think Aether Flare it might be cool with. But a lot of the times you're pretty much just taking arcane damage until you can't anymore. And then you just block it out with Spell Void. But even then, at that point, you got to hope that it's on your turn because your opponent's going to try to do some nonsense. I think I might switch to AB again for this, but you guys let me know in the comments what you think about it. So this is the list for the Kassai Commoner deck that we have going on here. I like it. I haven't played around with it too much, but the draw cards, be able to do 2 to 3 attacks a turn is the concept for the deck. So, and then obviously doing things in the attack reaction step is incredibly important. So we want that. Moving on though, we do have a Clash deck for Kassai. Kassai is also available in Clash, obviously. And now with the addition of rare cards, as well as any specializations or anything of the sort, we do see a little bit of a change in the way that I personally built her. The armor stays the same, which is great, right? Armor stays the same. It's just really, really good warrior stuff. Deep Blue might be changed out for something else, but I'm not too sure yet. I like Deep Blue, being able to change my blues to reds, or change my reds to blues, I should say. But we do run a lot more blues in this version of the deck, strictly because there are better cards to be put in there overall. So we're still running the Agile Engagements, all the Blade Runners. We are running Cut the Deck, a new attack reaction from heavy hitters. This essentially allows you to Crown of Seeds, for those of you who don't know. Your target warrior attack gets +3, so it's for any of the warrior attacks, not just your weapons. And if it's defended by an attack action card, you then get to draw a card, turning on Kassai's swords, and then you get to put a card from your hand or your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. So that can get you another card into hand, and then you can take that arsenal card. Let's say, your opponent's frozen that arsenal card, or something has occurred, or you want to filter something from your hand because maybe you don't like it. You can go ahead and do that and be able to then kind of keep the same resources in a matter. So not too bad. It also blocks for 3, which is really, really good. It's much better than this because this doesn't block for 3, but it does allow us to kind of filter some more stuff, which is nice. Iron Song Response, again, we like that there. We are only running the red and just the red of Rising Energy and Rising Speed. We're not doing the yellows in this one here. The reason being is because I think that we are seeing different yellows entering the fray, and I wanted to make, some equal exchanges there. Scour the Battlescape is still in here too. We do have Slice and Dice. This is really good for those double attack, weapon builds. Because whenever you attack with a sword or dagger this turn, if it's your first weapon attack, it gets +1. But if your second attack, it gets +3. So you're at least going to be getting, 3 damage on Hot Streak, possibly more if you pump it even further. And then you're going to get 6 damage if your opponent blocks an attack action on Centauri Saber with Slice and Dice. So pretty important to kind of push that damage again. But again, I haven't really tried out this one a whole lot, so Slice and Dice might be switched out for something like maybe Engage Swiftblade. Stroke of Foresight, this is again that attack reaction that allows us to draw, so we want that. This card here is probably the biggest tech into the deck, and I'm not even going to say it's a tech, because just about every warrior deck plays Warrior's Valor. The reason this card is really good into Kassai right now, though, is because what Warrior's Valor does is it says your next weapon attack this turn gets plus X, right? 3, 2, and 1 respectively. And then if it hits, the attack gets go again. Well, we have a weapon that says that if it's blocked by an attack action, it gets go again. So in most cases, if Hot Streak swings for 5 and your opponent says no blocks because they don't want to give you go again, Warrior's Valor gives the weapon go again then because you hit. So it is very, very crucial to, if you're going to try to make that work, you're going to want to play Warrior's Valor into Hot Streak, because then whether you hit or you don't hit, in most cases, unless your opponent blocks out with a bunch of stuff that is, not attack actions, you're still going to get that go again regardless. And even still, you're gaining tempo in that way, because blocking 5 is at least going to require 2 cards or 1 card and some armor. So it is pretty important. We do run the Rainbow of Warrior's Valor. We are running Cash In as well. Again, as I had said, Kassai's ability allows us to make gold on hit with her weapons. And now it's not going to be as much. You're probably not making a ton of gold in this game plan, but even just using a little bit of it, right? Drawing 2 cards turns on her swords. It turns on the rising energy and rising speed stuff. And more importantly, like 2 cards, that's additional resources into your hand. And it's just very, very good. So Cash In is great because we want to do gold for this build. Raise an Army. This is Kassai's new specialization. We had talked about this previously in a Kassai video I made for Clash, but I like this in here. I haven't tested to see how many Centauris I can make regularly, but worst case scenario, it's a yellow that blocks for 3. But even if you can make 2, 3 Centauri sellswords, and I think making 2 gold is pretty easy to do with this build. So even if you're able to make 3 Centauri sellswords, you're in a really, really, really good spot. Then, of course, run through. I guess I should explain what the heck a Centauri sellsword is. This is a Centauri sellsword. You can pay 1 to attack, and they have go again. They have 2 health. They attack for 3, but you can only swing with any of these sellswords if you have attacked with a weapon, which is going to happen in most cases. So that is the thing there. And you're going to be able to give it go again with like Blade Runner and stuff. Then we do have run through. This is another way to get your target sword attack to get go again. And your next one gets +2. It's actually literally Blade Runner yellow, just another one. So there's that. Blade Flash is a blue that you can pay 1 to give target sword attack go again in the attack reaction step. It's good. I'm not sure if it's going to be the one to stay, but anything to give your sword attacks go again is usually pretty good. We are running the blue hit and runs, but that's it, just the blues, because again, we want to be able to pitch for things and then be able to play stuff too. So this is kind of more so to give your weapon go again, and not so much to just be like, yeah, we're gonna definitely be able to power up our next attack like we would previously on other stuff. And then this is kind of a tech for me. I personally like this card a lot, but I'm not sure how well it's going to work. A lot of this like setting stuff in Arsenal is really, really efficient. And in performance bonuses case, coming in and attacking for 1 is either going to present your opponent by they're going to have to block with armor, or they're going to have to block with something in their hand and overblock this performance bonus, which is really, really good. If they can overblock at a performance bonus, that's what we like to see. It also has go again. So being able to go ahead and play performance bonus and then pitch a blue to then play Warrior's Valor to then swing with a hot streak and then come in with something else, like, it's very good. So I like performance bonus. It also creates us gold if it hits. And of course, gold is what we need for Raise an Army. So kind of the goal of the deck is to get 2 to 3 gold, hopefully get yourself Raise an Army, and then be able to play it. So that way you can raise an army. But again, I'm not finalized on a lot of this stuff. I feel like there are warrior players out there who are cringing at this build, especially the Spell Void stuff. And if you are a warrior main who's cringing at any of this, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below, because I want to make sure that this deck is as tuned as it possibly can be for something like the Clash format. I know warrior isn't exactly in the best spot simply because you do still have Icelander and Oldhim and stuff like that still kind of becoming and being a little bit of a problem for the class itself, needing all these resources. But that's why I like teching in things like this rising speed and rising energy, be costing one less. I feel like it's just a nice flow. That is my commoner and clash builds for Kassai. If you guys want to see like gameplay of these decks, go ahead and just let me know in the comments down below. I'd also love to get some gameplay stuff together for you. There's nothing up as far as stats or results or anything of the sort. I haven't really tried out these decks to their entirety. I want this to be a group project where we can all kind of figure it out ourselves and kind of make the best version of the deck that we can. This one obviously is not running Blood on Our Hands, the card that everybody would expect to be in a specialization specific format like Clash, but we just don't make copper right now. And, old Kassai, Centauri Sellsword, makes copper really well. But this build is not based around copper. It's still about drawing cards, getting a go again ability, having your swords be free, pumping those swords to attack your opponent, and then kind of moving on forward. So that is essentially everything in the deck. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you. And also let me know what heroes you guys would like to see next. I know we already focused on KO, and now we're on to Kassai. I do want to maybe make one for Victor or Betsy or something of the sort. So if any of those heroes from Heavy Hitters are really kind of trying to tweak them to the best of your ability and see maybe what my thoughts are on the heroes, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to check them out and get something set up for you guys. But anyway, if you like the video, make sure to give it a little thumbs up. Go and smooch that little like button there. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And just stay tuned for more awesome Commoner and Clash budget format Flesh and Blood, because that's the kind of nice, regularly leveled content I'd like to bring to you all. So thanks again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all very soon. Nerd out.